What's going on, everybody? I'm voidzu and welcome back to a brand new video. Today I'm going to be going over the best streaming settings on OBS for the best possible quality on Twitch, on YouTube, on Facebook, rip mixer. We're going to be going over every single nuance from a low-end PC to a high-end PC, what you should avoid and what you definitely should be doing that you might not know of. So let's get into it. Okay guys, so first off, we're going to be going over just general settings, a couple different features that you might want to add, and things like that. So before we start anything, I want to say that I am live on YouTube all the time now, like almost every single day, probably 5 days a week. So make sure you drop a subscribe and a like button if you liked this. If you didn't like it, tell me why down below and what I missed and what I should do next time. I really appreciate it. I respond to all the comments. So now let's get into it. So up here in the tools bar up here, we're going to hit view, hover over docs, and then here you have stats. So what we're going to do is add stats to the top bar. You can take this and move it around if you like, put it on the side over here. Boom. But what this is going to do is it's going to tell you the statistics of your stream, not like viewer count or anything like that. But what it does tells your CPU, how much disk space you have, if you're recording, if you're streaming, basically what is going on. Like if you're missing frames, if you're dropping frames, what's going on, do the rendering, anything like that, that'll tell you what to do. So you can exit out of that if you don't want it on there. The next biggest thing, we're just gonna go right into settings. And I'm gonna do a full video on the best audio settings for OBS soon. But for now, we're just gonna go over the general stuff. So in general, I'll go over everything with you. English, whatever your language is, dark mode, obviously. I'll turn on light mode, but they don't even have a light mode. Oh, never mind. Okay, automatically check for updates, click it. Open stats dialog on startup. You can. All of this stuff is pretty much fine how it is. We'll go to stream next. So you have to set your service. If you do use Twitch, make sure you sign in with Twitch on the client. It'll allow you to look at more stats, like how we showed you in the view bar. You pop it down in the docs section, you'll be able to pull up your Twitch stats as well as your view count, your comment, your chat and everything like that. So definitely sign in with Twitch. Don't just enter your stream key if you're on YouTube. Sorry, we don't got anything yet. Okay, so first thing is output. This is going to be the biggest thing for you. So what we want to do here is have it set to streaming. Of course, advanced mode is super important. So switch to advanced mode if it's not already, and then streaming. Encoder, if you have NVIDIA, choose NVIDIA NVENC H.264 new. If you have AMD, I believe there's an AMD option. I'm not 100% sure about that, but just look for it. It should say hardware, I believe. So then I don't rescale output. I do that in video if I'm going to do it. I find that this kind of bogs it up a little bit if I do. For YouTube, you can stream at a higher bitrate, so we'll get into what that means in a second, but basically rate control is constant bitrate. I think it's variable bitrate, lossless, and I don't know what QCP is. I've always used CBR, constant bitrate, and I've always found that it gave me the best possible look for the stream. And what bitrate is, just to kind of break it down to you easily, is that it's how quickly or how much data can be pushed to the YouTube or Twitch server at any given moment. So when you're sitting here doing nothing, doesn't take a lot of energy, so it would be a lower rate. So if I'm just sitting here streaming myself watching some YouTube, it might use 3,500 to 4,000 kilobits per second. But if I set it to 6,000, when I get into a gunfight, it might send a little bit more data, so you have to give a little bit more headroom. I don't know if that's making much sense, but basically it's your upload. If your upload speed on your internet, so when you do like an internet speed check or whatever, don't worry about your download, just worry about your upload. So your download might be a gigabyte, but your upload's 15 megabytes. 1,000 kilobytes is a megabyte. So we're looking at 8 megabytes per second upload for YouTube. On Twitch, you can only go up to 6,000 at 1080p. If you have a lower end PC, I would recommend 720p quality, 30 frames, and about 2,500 to 3,000 kilobits per second. Mid-range, definitely want to do 720p 60 at 4K bitrate if you can. You have 4 megabytes or higher. I would say you want to have like 8 megabytes upload if you can, which you could just Google speed test if you don't already know how to do that. And then if you have a higher end PC, I would recommend 1080p at 60. If you're on YouTube, 8,000 kilobits. If you're on Twitch, 6,000 is the max. Keyframe interval is going to be 2. I could not for the life of me tell you why, but everyone's always said 2, so I use 2. Preset, I use quality. I mean, you can kind of mess around with these. I don't think they make that much of a difference. My streams always seem to come out decent, and I mean, decent being like good, but just I wish they were perfect. Main profile, again, doesn't really make too much of a difference. Look ahead, I don't actually use, but it could be useful for you. Dynamic B-frames, if disabled, the encoder will always use the number of B-frames applied in the setting below, which I already put 2, so I'm happy with that. Then we have psycho-visual tuning. Basically optimizes the use of bitrate for increased perceived visual quality, especially in situations of high motion. So it will be able to move the bitrate around depending on what's going on to be the video quality look better or perceived to be look better. So we'll hit apply and we'll move on. These are my settings, and I have a Ryzen 7 2700X, a RTX 2080, 16 gigs of RAM, things like that. So next thing is audio. So this one's kind of weird. I would say mainly that the big thing to do here is set your desktop audio to your headphones, most important. The mic/auxiliary audio has to be what you're using for your mic. So I use a mixer, an MG10XU. So I have that as my line in, or my MG, there you go, XU for my audio. Now we have the most important thing. Decay rate, fast. This is for your meters. This is for below when the audio moves up and down. See if I can see it. Hello, hello. You see that down in the corner where I'm talking and the green goes up? You want to have, while we're here, by the way, you want your audio to be sitting in the middle of the yellow when you're talking normally and hit the red just barely when you yell. And I'll show you why. Because normally this setting is set to true peak instead of sample peak. So 0 versus, I believe, true peak uses slightly different formula. It uses higher CPU, but it gives you an actual accurate representation of what the sound looks like. But sample peak, use that because when you're in the center of the yellow, you're a very loud volume for phones at full volume, which is better because, and I don't want to call anyone out, but like Tim the Tapman, for example, his stream is extremely quiet on a phone. I have to ramp full volume and I still can barely hear it. So what I like is to go for a more louder, punchy volume, which is what you get doing this kind of method. Advanced monitoring device, I wouldn't recommend it because it does actually show up in your recording, so I wouldn't do that. Video. A base canvas resolution is your monitor's screen, nothing else. You can, however, change it depending on what you're looking to do. So for YouTube videos, for example, a lot of people recommend doing, I think it's 30, it's the 4K, 3000 and something by 1080. And what it does is it gives you 2 windows, one for gameplay, one for video. When recording, you could basically, this is what Markiplier and all them do, have your webcam be separately recorded. And that way you don't have it stuck here where I'm at, needing to move it around. So, but if you're just streaming, just doing whatever you're doing, 1080p is whatever your monitor is, 1440p, 4K, set it to that. Your output resolution is why we skipped on the rescale. Output is whatever you want it to. 720p, you can do 21:9, ultra wide, anything. That's where you would change it. Not the output, don't touch this. Set the video. Downscale filter doesn't make a much difference, but I use Lansco's always just because I think it's the best quality, but I've never noticed much of a difference. Biggest factor here is 60 FPS. You can stream on 60 FPS, 30 FPS if your PC is, a little bit lower quality, but definitely 60 if you can afford it, because it really does make the viewing experience much better, especially if you have a Samsung phone or any device with higher refresh rate. You do notice the glitches from 30 to 60 a lot more. Whether or not that's scientifically accurate, I definitely have. Hotkeys, you can set up your hotkeys here. I don't use anything because I don't want to accidentally start recording, stop streaming, anything like that. And advanced, nothing else really here needs to be touched. Apply, hit OK. So those are the best settings right out of the gate for you to stream. That will get you going right away. And of course you can go in here and add your video capture device, which we can probably cover in a different video, as well as your display capture, which is my display. I can show you real quick. These are very simple. You hit the plus. So you need a scene. This is what it looks like. You can switch to different scenes, my gameplay scene, things like that. And then add a source. And we can go over all these, but you can kind of read up on them and they make sense. Display capture captures your display, your game, an image you set, your text, your web camera, a window specifically you want to capture, audio, anything like that. But I can go over that in a whole different video. There's also a lot of videos on YouTube already about that if you want to check it out. But other than that, that's pretty much it. That's how you set up your stream for the best possible quality. I really wanted to make this video because I watched a couple of these. I had to watch about 10 different videos like this over the last 4 years to be able to get the perfect quality for what I wanted. So a lot of people still ask me, how do I start streaming? How do I set up OBS? So yeah, that's how you would do it. Before you ask, yes, Streamlabs OBS is just OBS with a skin. So everything I showed you can be done in Streamlabs. None of it's different. Every time OBS updates, Streamlabs updates because it's just a skin on top of regular OBS. I need to make that very clear. It is not a different program. It is the exact same. It just looks different. A little bit of different functionality, but they're really just extra, fun things. All right, well, that's about everything. I want to thank you guys so much for watching this video. Make sure to subscribe if you haven't, like or dislike, and comment down below. Let me know what you thought. I am live all the time, as I said in the beginning, and you can come check out these settings live, and I'm happy to help you with any questions or concerns you may have about your streaming setup. So yeah, we'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.